The photo hit me harder than any punch ever could. No warning, no build-up, just a casual scroll on a quiet Saturday morning. I was still in my robe, watering the lawn like I had every weekend for the last 27 years. The sun was barely up. The coffee machine was still hissing behind me. Everything felt safe. Routine. Then my phone buzzed. It was Alice. Well, not directly. Just a Facebook post. A photo. She was in Dallas, supposedly at a sales conference. In the picture, she stood beside Bryce, the golden retriever of her office. All teeth, no spine. He had one arm wrapped around her shoulder, the other holding two drinks. Her head tilted toward him like they were posing for an engagement announcement, her hand resting on his chest. The caption read, "My real partner. Hashtag Workisband for life." 2 hearts. 57 likes. 16 comments. Love you too. Office goals. Finally, just say it already. I stared at it. The first time I reread it, I actually laughed. That dry, breathless laugh that dies in your throat halfway through, because your body knows better than to waste the oxygen. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. Instead, I walked inside, poured myself the rest of the coffee, opened the kitchen drawer, and pulled out the beige folder I had prepared 3 weeks earlier. Not because I was certain, but because I had overheard her whisper to Bryce on speakerphone late at night. "If only you weren't married." That was enough to make me start collecting receipts. At first, emotional ones. Then legal. The folder had everything: petition, disclosures, property division sheets. My lawyer called it clean and aggressive. I slid it onto the kitchen table like a dealer throwing down the last card in a high-stakes game. Then I opened Facebook again. Her post was still up. I typed one line beneath it. "Congratulations. The divorce papers are on the kitchen table." I hit post. Logged out. Then I went back outside and resumed watering the grass. The sprinkler hissed like nothing had changed. But the moment tasted different, like burnt coffee and pennies. She called that night, right on schedule. Probably after one of her friends texted, "Huh, Alice, check your Facebook." Her voice was too cheerful, stretched too thin. That plastic, upbeat tone she used when she wanted to sound innocent, like a child rehearsing a lie. "Hey, babe." She dragged the word out like syrup. "I saw your little comment. You're not actually mad, are you?" It was a joke. Everyone at the office does that, you know. It's like a running thing. Work husband, work wife. Just for laughs. I didn't interrupt. I let her fill the silence with nervous giggles and justifications. People don't realize how much rope they give you when they think you're gullible. "You seriously took it the wrong way," she kept going. "It's just Bryce. You know how he is. He's harmless." "God, you're being dramatic." When she finally paused to breathe, I said 3 words. "Check the kitchen." Dead silence. 2 full seconds. Then laughter. "Oh my God. You're joking. You're joking, right? You didn't actually." I didn't reply. Her laugh cracked a little, thinner now. "You're such a dork sometimes. Seriously, this is overreacting. It's a dumb caption. I didn't mean anything by it." Sure. Just like she didn't mean anything the night I overheard her call Bryce at 11:37 p.m., whispering from the laundry room. "You looked so good today in that gray shirt." Stop it. I was blushing all through that meeting. Imagine if we didn't have to sneak around. That was the night I called Marcus, my lawyer. Told him I could see the iceberg on the radar. He told me, "Start gathering quietly. Emails, financial records, insurance forms. When it hits, move fast. Don't engage." So I wasn't engaging. I was executing. Alice still thought this was a bluff. She always mistook silence for surrender. But silence isn't surrender. Silence is loading the weapon. I ended the call with a flat, "Take care, Alice." Click. I imagined her staring at the beige folder, blinking at the seal, the absence of warning. Just the facts. Cold. Precise. Like her caption, Monday, 9:14 a.m. I was logged into my burner Gmail, the one I used for Craigslist sales and Amazon returns back when we still shared passwords. I attached the screenshot. Alice draped over Bryce. The caption, "My real partner," glowing like a confession. My own comment beneath it, the nail in the coffin. Subject line, "Inappropriate conduct." You decide. Attached, screenshot, metadata, timestamp. The email went straight to her company's HR department. No signature. No fanfare. Just the truth. I didn't expect a reply. HR never moves fast unless there's fire. But Alice herself had bragged more than once. Wine glass in hand. that her company had a zero-tolerance policy on undisclosed relationships, especially if one party had supervisory power. Bryce? Freshly promoted by her. I closed the laptop. The clicks sounded mechanical, final. Then I opened the legal pad I'd been building since the laundry room phone call. A checklist. My blueprint. Item 1. Transfer my 401k into a separate living trust. Already in motion. Marcus walked me through it over what felt less like lunch and more like a war briefing. The trust was airtight, no marital claims. Item 2. Change the beneficiary on my life insurance. Used to be Alice. Now it was my sister Elaine. Practical. No nonsense. The kind who wouldn't cry when the paperwork came. She'd just file it and move on. Item 3. Bank accounts. We used to share everything. Her idea. I called it romantic socialism. Not anymore. Different banks. Different passwords. Different zip codes. I left just enough in the joint account to keep the lights on for 30 days. She'd notice. She'd text. Let her wonder. Item 4. Credit cards. 2 were in my name with her as an authorized user. Not anymore. 1 call. Done. She'd try to swipe at the airport bar on her way home and get hit with a cheerful decline. Every move was silent. Surgical. Not rage, architecture. I wasn't destroying her life. I was dismantling the scaffolding she had climbed on, one bolt at a time. And she still thought, I'm sorry, would cure it. At 12:03 p.m., Dawn, my friend in her company's IT, sent me a text. Bro, HR just opened a case. Boom. By evening, her Facebook post was gone. Too late. The fuse was already burning. She got back a day early. I knew she would. People only delay coming home when comfort waits on the other end. When it's dread, they rush back, hoping proximity will fix what time cannot. I was sitting on the porch when the Uber pulled up. She stepped out in oversized sunglasses that screamed celebrity in crisis, dragging her carry-on like it owed her money. Phone in one hand, already mid-sentence to whoever was on the other end. I just think we should talk in person. Then she froze halfway up the walk. The key didn't work. Not on the first try. Not on the second. She rattled it in the lock, jiggled it like the brass was the problem. Then she knocked. Once, twice. I stayed seated, sipping water with lemon, as casual as if I were watching clouds move. It's been changed, I said. Flat. Unmoved. Her head snapped toward me. What? Are you serious right now? I let the silence breathe between us. Silence always works harder than shouting. You can't just, she started, voice already climbing. You can't just change the locks like this. I live here. You used to, I replied. Her laugh was thin, nervous. Oh, come on. Don't do this. This is ridiculous. I tilted the glass in my hand, watching condensation drip down the side. The papers are on the kitchen table. The lawyer's number is inside. You'll want to read the disclosures carefully. Disclosures? Her voice cracked. Assets. Accounts. The division of property. It's already filed with the court. She stared at me, lips parted, sunglasses sliding down the bridge of her nose. For the first time in years, I saw something on her face other than smugness or indifference. I saw calculation. The frantic kind. She tried again, softer this time. Baby, listen. It was just a joke. You're taking this way too far. You're angry, I get it. But this? Locks, lawyers, this isn't you. I smiled slightly. No, this is me. You just never bothered to learn what silence meant. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Bryce's name lit the screen. She fumbled to decline the call. I raised an eyebrow. Conference call? Her jaw clenched. She shoved the phone into her purse. You don't get it. Bryce is nothing. You're my husband. We can fix this. Just let me in and we'll talk like adults. No. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected a single syllable to land like a door slamming shut. She switched tactics. The pout. The sigh. You're making a scene, you know? Neighbors will see. I glanced at the hedges. Then they'll see a husband giving his wife exactly what she asked for. Freedom. Her mask cracked then. Anger seeped through the edges. You think you can just throw me out? That house is half mine. Not anymore. I reached into the folder beside me, pulled out a crisp document, and slid it across the table toward her. Quitclaim deed. Signed. Effective as of Friday. She picked it up, skimmed, then froze. Her signature. Not forged, not faked, hers. From months earlier. I had tucked it into refinancing paperwork she had rushed through without reading, trusting me to handle the details like always. She stammered. No tricks. Just paperwork. You signed. You gave up claim to the house in exchange for half the value of a savings account that doesn't exist anymore. She stared, speechless. Where's the money? She finally whispered. I let the corner of my mouth curl. Not here. She stepped closer, her voice trembling between rage and desperation. You can't do this. You can't just erase me. I leaned back, folding my hands calmly. You erased yourself the moment you chose a caption over a marriage. I'm just honoring your request. The silence stretched. The birds in the oak tree behind us kept singing, oblivious. A car passed by, bass thumping, tires crunching gravel. Life went on. Only hers had stopped. Her phone buzzed again. This time she didn't check it. She just stood there, the weight of inevitability pressing down. You'll regret this, she whispered finally. I shook my head. No, you will. And then, almost as an afterthought, I added, oh, by the way, HR has a copy of that photo. You should probably check your work email. Her face drained of color. I didn't need to say more. She turned, dragging the suitcase back down the driveway, her heels catching on the uneven concrete. She moved fast, almost running, like the air itself was pushing her out. I sat back in the chair, glass still cold in my hand, and watched until the Uber turned the corner. Inside, the house was quiet. My house. Not ours. Just mine. The beige folder still sat on the table where I'd left it, patient and heavy. On top of it was a note in my handwriting. Silence isn't weakness. It's precision. The next morning, Don called. His voice was low, urgent, like he was relaying intel from behind enemy lines. She's in trouble, man. HR pulled her into a meeting the moment she walked in. They had the screenshot. They even had a copy of your comment. Word is, compliance flagged it as a breach of conduct. Zero tolerance clause. I leaned against the counter, sipping black coffee. Termination? Not yet. Formal inquiry first. But it's bad. Real bad. I smiled into the phone. Good. He hesitated. You sure about this? It's pretty cold. Don, I said evenly. Cold keeps the hands steady. We hung up. I opened my laptop, checked my checklist. More items to clear. Insurance policies, updated. Retirement accounts, locked. Joint debts, restructured into her name alone. Every move, a quiet incision. No shouting. No threats. Just signatures and codes. She thought I was playing checkers. She didn't realize I had been memorizing the chessboard for months. By noon, I received a text from her. Just 3 words. Can we talk? I muted the thread. The trap was already sprung. Talking would only dull the sound of it closing. That evening, I walked out to the garage. The old folding table where I had first planned my retirement now looked more like a command center. Papers stacked neatly. Folders labeled. USB drives lined up like soldiers. I ran my hand across the grain of the wood and whispered to myself. Let's see how far she falls. The house was quiet again. But the silence wasn't heavy. It was sharp. Purposeful. Alice thought this was still about betrayal. She didn't realize it had become about revelation. And revelations are always crueler than revenge. Wednesday, 8:42 a.m. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while I buttered toast. The caller ID, unknown. I let it ring. 3 minutes later, a voicemail arrived. Mr. Callahan, this is Diane from Crestwood HR. We'd like to schedule a follow-up regarding your concerns about inappropriate workplace conduct. Please return our call. They had taken the bait. Perfectly. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. The truth was, I didn't need to speak to them again. The photo had spoken louder than any words. And Alice, she'd have to answer for it. I finished breakfast, folded the paper, and left for a meeting Marcus had arranged. My lawyer believed in efficiency. I believed in silence. Between the two of us, Alice never stood a chance. By 10:15 a.m., Marcus and I were seated across a walnut conference table stacked with documents. He slid a folder toward me. Retirement accounts, fully separated. Trust finalized. She can't touch it. I flipped through the pages. Clean, precise. No gaps. Bank accounts, closed, reopened in new institutions. No joint signatures. I nodded. Insurance, done. Beneficiaries reassigned. She doesn't get a penny. I closed the folder slowly. Perfect. Marcus leaned back, studying me. Most men in your position scream. Rage. Demand blood. You're patient. I met his eyes. Because patience looks like weakness. Until it doesn't. He smirked. Then let's move on to the house. She'll come after it. She already signed it away. He raised a brow. Smart man. That afternoon, I trimmed the hedges while the neighbor waved from across the street. Life looked ordinary. But underneath, a quiet storm was building, one Alice couldn't escape. At 3:27 p.m., Dawn texted again. She's suspended. Paid leave pending investigation. They pulled her badge. I read it twice, then placed the phone back in my pocket. At 3:45, another text followed. She was crying in the lobby. Bryce wouldn't even look at her. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked inside, opened the fridge, and poured a glass of water. Calm. Ordinary. The kind of calm that only comes when everything is falling exactly into place. By evening, Alice called. This time, I answered. Her voice was small. Fragile. They've suspended me. Said they need to investigate. You wouldn't, she stopped. Corrected herself. You didn't have to do this. I didn't, I said evenly. You did. She sniffled. It was just a joke. Everyone knew it was harmless. HR didn't think so. Bryce said he'll talk to them, explain everything. They'll see it's nothing. Bryce won't save you, Alice. He's already saving himself. Silence stretched between us. Then, her voice cracked. So what now? You're just going to leave me with nothing. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. No, Alice. You left yourself with nothing. I just cleared the table. You're being cruel. No, I corrected gently. I'm being accurate. She started to cry then. Loud, ugly sobs. Once, those sounds might have broken me. Tonight, they barely stirred the air. When she realized I wasn't interrupting, she hung up. Thursday morning, I received an email from Marcus. The subject line, severance negotiation. He had already spoken to Alice's lawyer, someone she must have scrambled to find after realizing the depth of her mistake. The tone of the email was polite, but desperate. She wanted half the house, half the savings, alimony, the works. Marcus attached his response. 6 lines, brutal in their brevity. Client retains sole ownership of the home via signed quitclaim. Savings account division moot. Funds were liquidated prior to filing. Trust assets are irrevocable. Given infidelity evidence, spousal support will not be entertained. Recommend your client adjust expectations accordingly. I read it 3 times. Each word felt like a nail sealing a coffin. That night, I drove to the overlook above town. From there, the city lights looked like a scattered constellation, bright, careless, endless. I thought about Alice. About the way she used to tilt her head when she laughed, back before everything curdled. I thought about the woman who had once held my hand in grocery aisles, who used to steal my fries when we were too young to afford 2 meals. That woman was gone, replaced by someone who would post my real partner without thinking twice. I whispered into the night. You ended this. I just finished it. Friday afternoon, Marcus called. She's furious, he said. Her lawyer tried pressing for temporary support. I reminded him of the Facebook post and the HR inquiry. He backed down. For now. Good. She'll try other angles. Emotional appeal. Public sympathy. You need to be ready. I smiled faintly. I'm already ready. That weekend, Alice showed up again. No suitcase this time. Just her, in a wrinkled blouse, hair pulled back too tightly, eyes red. She stood at the bottom of the porch steps, wringing her hands. Can we talk? I didn't move. We already did. Not like this. Please. Just hear me out. I sighed, set down the book I was reading, and leaned forward. Go ahead. She swallowed hard. I messed up. I know I did. But we can fix this. I'll delete my accounts. I'll cut off Bryce. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't do this to me. I let the silence stretch until she shifted uncomfortably. Then I spoke, calm and steady. You thought silence meant forgiveness. You thought it meant weakness. But silence, Alice, I stood slowly, letting each word fall like stone, is preparation. Her breath caught. I stepped back toward the door. And I've been preparing for a long time. I closed it behind me. She stayed on the porch another 5 minutes before walking away. Inside, the house was quiet again. My house. Every tick of the clock sounded sharper, clearer, like a countdown. Alice's career was collapsing. Her finances were evaporating. Her access to me was gone. And yet, this wasn't the end. No, this was only the foundation. Because revenge isn't about anger. It's about inevitability. And her downfall had only just begun. Monday, 7:11 a.m. I was making coffee when Dawn's text came through. She's out. Official termination. Walked her out with a box. I stared at the steam rising from the mug in my hand. No rush of triumph. No adrenaline spike. Just a calm acknowledgement, like a chess player moving the knight into a square he'd predicted 5 turns ago. By 8 o'clock, Alice called. I let it ring. By 8:05, she called again. By 8:06, a text arrived. They fired me. You did this. Answer me. I typed 2 words. Check the kitchen. The beige folder was still sitting there. Her lawyer had told her to pick it up. She hadn't. She thought stalling would give her leverage. Instead, she was already standing on a collapsing floor. At 10 a.m., I met Marcus in his office. He had that look on his face lawyers get when they know the other side is panicking. She's demanding spousal support again, he said, flipping through papers. Claims she has no income and no savings. She doesn't, I replied. Not anymore. He raised a brow. You anticipated this? I slid a USB drive across his desk. Joint savings. The transfers. Credit card authorizations revoked. Bank notices. Everything time-stamped. She has access to nothing. Not a cent. He plugged it into his laptop, skimmed, then nodded slowly. You left her with just enough to keep the lights on. Exactly 30 days. No more. Marcus leaned back in his chair, almost smiling. You're dismantling her piece by piece. This isn't divorce strategy, it's engineering. Exactly. That afternoon, I returned home to find Alice parked across the street in her car. She rolled down the window as I pulled into the driveway. Are you seriously doing this? She demanded, her voice hoarse. You're cutting me off completely? After everything I gave you. I rested my arm on the steering wheel. You didn't give me. You took. For years. Her face twisted. I was your wife. I supported you. You undermined me. You lied. You cheated. And you broadcasted it. She shook her head violently. It was a joke. You're overreacting. Everyone flirts a little. I shut off the engine, leaned out the window, and said quietly, Alice, you didn't just flirt. You built a narrative where I was disposable. Now you're learning what disposable feels like. She gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles whitened. You'll regret this. You think you're in control, but you're not. I'll get everything I'm owed. I smiled faintly. You already signed most of it away. Her eyes flickered. She didn't understand. Not yet. But soon. I walked into the house without looking back. Tuesday, 2:14 p.m. Marcus called again. She's trying to contest the quitclaim deed on the house. Says she didn't understand what she was signing. She understood enough to cash out the savings account I offered in exchange. Yes, but the account was empty. Exactly. Marcus chuckled. Cold. Very cold. The judge will side with you. She can't claim ignorance on paperwork she signed voluntarily. Good. And one more thing, Marcus added, lowering his voice. She filed for temporary credit access. Claims she has no working cards. The bank forwarded the request to me, since I'm listed as primary on the joint accounts. I leaned back in my chair. Deny it. Already did. Wednesday night, she showed up again. This time without the car. She stood at the bottom of the porch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I need help, she said softly. I folded my arms. You need a lawyer. Her lip trembled. I can't afford one. That's not my problem. Please, she whispered. Just a little support. Until I get back on my feet. I shook my head slowly. Alice, I'm not punishing you. I'm just giving you exactly what you gave me. Nothing. Her face crumpled. She turned and walked down the street without another word. Thursday morning, I received an envelope from Marcus. Inside was a copy of the formal HR termination notice. Dry, bureaucratic language. Employee has violated professional standards, breach of code of conduct, failure to disclose interpersonal relationship. I read it once, then slid it into the beige folder on the kitchen table. Evidence. Final. Then I pulled out my checklist. Several items were already crossed off. Transfer 401k. Done. Change insurance beneficiaries. Done. Revoke credit cards. Done. Sever joint accounts. Done. Lock house deed. Done. Ensure HR involvement. Done. Only a few tasks remained. The final strokes. I wrote one more at the bottom in neat block letters. Legacy. Friday, 6:03 p.m. Alice tried again. This time by email. You win. Are you happy now? You've ruined me. Fired. Broke. No home. No car. Congratulations. I hope you can live with yourself. I didn't reply. Instead, I drafted my own email. Subject line, change of executor. I sent it to my financial advisor, instructing him to update my estate. Alice's name was erased from every line of every document. Not out of anger, out of precision. That weekend, Elaine, my sister, came by with her kids. We grilled burgers in the backyard, laughed about old family stories, and for a moment life felt normal. Elaine glanced toward the street, where Alice's car usually Saturday. Haven't seen her around. I sipped my beer. She's gone. Elaine raised a brow. Gone how? Out of the company. Out of the accounts. Out of the house. Out of my life. Elaine studied me for a long moment. You don't sound angry. I'm not. Anger is temporary. What I built. Permanent. Sunday evening, as I closed the garage for the night, I found an envelope tucked under the door. My name scrawled across the front in her handwriting. Inside, a single page. You think you've won, but I'll find a way back. You can't erase me. I folded the letter carefully, slid it into the beige folder, and whispered, yes, I can. Alice was unraveling faster than even I predicted. Career gone, money gone, access gone, and soon, her reputation. Because the next step wasn't about finances. It was about exposure. She had made a fool of me publicly. Now it was her turn to taste the same humiliation. But unlike her, I wouldn't need hashtags or photos. Just a single, calculated move. Revenge wasn't complete until it was inevitable. And by the time she realized what was happening, inevitability would be all she had left. Monday, 11:22 a.m. My phone buzzed again. Dawn. Rumor spreading. She didn't just lose her job. Word is, she got caught with Bryce. People whispering. Her name's Mud. Good. That was the start. But whispers aren't enough. Whispers fade. I wanted permanence. That night, I opened the beige folder one more time. Inside was every receipt, every screenshot, every termination notice. But it wasn't just for me anymore. It was for her circle, the people she lived to impress. Alice lived off appearances. Charity luncheons. Wine nights with her office clique. Yoga trips with the girls. She'd made our marriage into a stage prop for that audience. Time to use her own stage against her. I drafted invitations, 20 of them. Not paper, not embossed. Digital, subtle. Celebration of new beginnings. I sent them to her closest friends, colleagues, and family. The location, the community center hall she once booked for her birthday. Everyone assumed Alice had planned it. I made sure of that. The truth? It was mine. And she wouldn't know until she walked in, Friday night. The hall buzzed with polite chatter. Tables lined with finger foods. Wine glasses clinking. Her friends arrived smiling, expecting Alice to appear and explain herself. Instead, I walked onto the stage. The room stilled. A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. Good evening, I began, voice calm. Thank you all for coming to celebrate a new beginning. Not mine. Alice's. A murmur. Heads turned. I held up the beige folder. Many of you have asked why Alice disappeared so suddenly from work. Why she hasn't been returning calls. Tonight, I'll explain. Not with speculation. With facts. I clicked the projector remote. The screen behind me lit up. The first slide, the Facebook photo. Alice and Bryce, drinks in hand, her hand on his chest. Caption, my real partner. Gasps rippled. Someone whispered, she posted that? The second slide, the HR termination notice. Cold, bureaucratic, final. The third, screenshots of her texts. Times, dates, words no one could deny. I didn't embellish. I didn't rage. I simply narrated. This is what Alice chose. Not me. Not us. Just her. Silence. Heavy. Embarrassed. Then I closed the folder. I won't say more. Because her actions already spoke louder than I ever could. I stepped down from the stage. No applause. No boos. Just stunned faces. Alice burst through the doors then. Late. Frantic. Realizing too late what she had walked into. Her eyes widened as she saw the screen, the folder, the audience. Stop, she shouted, voice cracking. This isn't true. But her friends were already looking at her differently. Not angry, not sympathetic, just finished. She froze under their gaze, then turned and fled. Her own stage had swallowed her hold at BY Saturday morning. Her social circle had collapsed. No more invitations. No more brunch texts. The group chats she once ruled had gone silent. Marcus called. You made a public record without ever entering a courtroom. She has nothing left to fight with. She still thinks she can recover, I said. She won't. Not legally. Not socially. She's done. At 3 p.m., Alice showed up at the house again. No car. No makeup. Just her. You humiliated me, she whispered, voice hollow. No, I said evenly. You humiliated yourself. I just let the lights shine where you didn't want them. Tears streamed down her face. I have nowhere to go. I nodded. That's what happens when you burn every bridge and then laugh about it. She sank to the step, shoulders shaking. For a long moment, I simply watched. No anger. No pity. Just observation. Finally, I said, Alice, this was never revenge. This was revelation. The difference is subtle, but important. Revenge is loud. Revelation is quiet. And you'll live in the quiet now. I stood, walked inside, and left her on the porch. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Clean. Irrevocable. She got nothing but her clothes and a modest allowance from the joint account I had intentionally left alive, just enough to cover a month's rent somewhere far from me. The day after the papers were signed, I visited the bank one last time. I opened a new account. The beneficiary, Sarah, my niece. Bright, hardworking, overlooked. She'd always wanted to study architecture, but couldn't afford tuition. The account was funded with what Alice had once assumed was hers. Legacy, I wrote in my checklist. Crossed it off. That night, I sat in the garage, the same place where I had first held the beige folder, the same place where silence had turned into precision. I raised a glass of water to the empty air. Not in celebration. Not in grief. Just acknowledgement. Alice was gone. Not dead. Not ruined. Just irrelevant. And irrelevance is a fate crueler than destruction. The final line of my plan came to me then. I wrote it at the bottom of the beige folder in neat block letters. Some revenge is loud, but the most dangerous? It's whispering. I closed the folder, slid it into the drawer, and shut off the garage light. And I walked away.